Okay, let's begin with Geeta Dhyana. Om. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us. O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf. People of purified intellect are the drinkers. And the milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the bestower of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent, and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay. So we start chapter 8. And this one, the chapter, the title, it's always the yoga of. Always the yoga of, starting with the first chapter, which is the yoga of the freaking out of Arjuna. Yoga of the grief of Arjuna. But yeah. And then here we have yoga of the imperishable Brahman is one way it gets translated, or the yoga of absolute truth. So, absolute truth meaning the highest truth or the highest teaching, the highest nature. So that will be a clue to what we're discussing in the 8th chapter. So Arjuna starts by asking a question, and we'll make the connection, but the last discourse, Lord Krishna pointed to something very high, and then Arjuna starts with a question. So Arjuna asked, what is Brahman, the Absolute? What is the Supreme Self, Adhyatman? What is karma, Sri Krishna? What is this earthly realm, Adibhuta? And what is the kingdom of light, Adidaiva?
That's one question.
What is the essence of self-sacrifice? Adiyanya. How does one make such an offering? And how is it possible to control the mind during physical death in order to stay conscious of your presence, my Lord?
That's a good question.
So, is it an unrelated question, random question? So the 7th closed with this. Lord Krishna said, those who see me pervading all the elements of nature, who realize me as the object of all worship, and who understand that I am the essence of self-sacrifice, will be conscious of my presence continually, even at the time of bodily death. So what's happened here?
Nature of the eyes.
What's happening here?
He's trying to get more details or
Very good.
Of an understanding.
Very good. He's trying to get an understanding.
Sounds like he's procrastinating.
Do you suppose he understood what Lord Krishna said when he said it?
No.
Not completely, or I wouldn't ask the question.
Oh.
Well, he's probably
So he's not being disingenuous.
What's detail?
Sorry?
I was going to say, I mean, he's also looking at like the possibility of all these people are going to die. He's in the middle of this battlefield, and he's like, okay, now that I accepted this idea that I'm going to fight, which it seems like he's coming more and more into the acceptance of his dharma. And I mean, naturally that question would arise.
Well, and it started in the 2nd chapter, didn't it? The answer to this question that's arising.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't even asking it as a question then, though. He was just stating it. But I'm asking, what's the process that's happening here? And you're touching on it, and you're touching on it.
Right.
He's realizing God is in everything.
But yes, go ahead, Nathan.
Oh, sorry, my head's everywhere. It was a question not even related to what you're talking about. It was I keep thinking of the battlefield as a physical battlefield, but someone a few days ago said that the battlefield's in the mind.
Yeah, it's not a physical battlefield. You're in the battlefield.
Mm.
You're in the battlefield. We'll discuss that a little bit more, but it's speaking to a very personal battlefield, not something outside. So here's the thing, and we're in Western psyche. We're dealing with a psyche, with a personage that's so jaded and so motivated to like get it over with and not dive into something, and to say, I know. We're dealing with such noise inside ourselves, and we're confusing it to be outside, and so we end up trying to get everybody else to shut up and thinking that's gonna solve it. So we don't even want to learn because we're so full of it. We're so full of it, and really it's like the connotation of that's what we're full of. There's the story about the Zen teacher, the Zen monk, and he has a new student, and the student asks him a question, and but he's not really asking a question. And so the monk says, "Here, would you like some tea? Let's have some tea." So he invites him to tea, and so he sets a cup of tea in front of him, and he starts pouring the tea, and he continues to pour, and the cup overflows, and he continues to pour, and the cup overflows, and he continues to pour, and finally the student says, "Wait, what are you doing? Don't you see that the cup is overflowing?" And the master says, "Don't you see that the cup is overflowing?" He says, "You have to empty yourself. Just like this cup has to be empty in order to pour tea into it, you have to empty yourself in order to receive knowledge." And so what's happened here is Arjuna's come from a place through this where he was so full of it that he had to crash in order for there to be room. He had to freak out, right? And then he had to say, I don't know. And now he's staying in this place, and it's very honest. And it's very, very sincere, because he's still coming from the place, I don't know. But he's realizing, but I'm with you, I'm in your presence, and you do know. And so, and the Indian way is like this. There's a humility, but also there's an acceptance that I really don't know. This is a mystery, and which leads to this inquiry that's sincere, that's a real inquiry, where a real question is asked from a place of not knowing and wanting to understand the answer to the question. And also a recognition that if I just know a few words about it, I don't really know it. So you tell me all is Brahman, and I stop. Do I know what Brahman is? Why have I stopped?
Feel it.
Because I'm either tired of the relationship or tired of the question and answer. I want to get away to my own self again. I want to get back to my cave of horrors.
That's what I call my house.
Because that's my sacred place, is my horrors.
Scary.
All my ideas and notions that I don't want challenged. And so he doesn't understand. It's actually very simple. He doesn't understand what Krishna has said. So he's asking a very detailed question because he wants to understand. So yeah, it's a long question, very detailed. And what do you suppose happens next in the Gita now?
The question's answered.
Very good. And Nathan, we were talking about this. So it's shared. I mean, we live in a state of ignorance. What does that mean? We don't know where happiness is, but we continue to imagine that we do. And so it's a terrible place. Being full of ourselves, but empty at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Empty of meaningful knowledge and full of meaningless knowledge. Because all you want is to be happy, is it so? Yeah. So if we don't know where it is, but we imagine that we do, and we continue to go through the motions, imagining that we do, you see, we're full of something. Because we have this whole long list, our bucket list. We have this whole long list of the things that we need to do and the things that we need others to do for us so that we can do it. But then we're empty of real knowledge. We don't know. And so here Arjuna has learned that. And so he's going to continue this dialogue until he knows.
And Arjuna was a real human in history.
It doesn't make any difference.
Well, I was just curious.
No, I mean, I'm serious.
Right.
We don't know. But Arjuna is you. So, yes, he's real. And he's not in history. He's right here, right now. This is a living story. It's a living story. It's the story of our own awakening. We come to the battlefield blind, like the blind king, Dhritarashtra, thinking we know, so full like that cup that overfloweth. And life teaches us that we don't know. And so we're Arjuna. We're Arjuna. And it's the point at which we recognize that we don't know that the teaching starts. And that's exactly what it is with Bhagavad Gita. It's at the point at which Arjuna realizes, I don't know. Everything that I held as knowledge isn't serving me here. So I am thy disciple, please instruct me. That's the moment when the teaching starts. Right?
If I wants to know how, if he does die, how he can pass over in good grace.
Exactly.
All the people he's going to maybe take out, all his friends.
Well, I suppose he realizes that he might also, but this is a big point, and Krishna is the one who made it as a big point. So, okay. We'll continue. Blessed Lord starts the teaching. Teaching only starts when a question has been asked. It never starts otherwise. And what does that mean? The world is always teaching us. But only when you ask a question can you learn anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Otherwise, we made a comment yesterday evening, which was a funny comment about beating something. And it was a funny comment, right? But this is what's happening, is we're being slapped about until we say, wait a second, what am I missing here?
Why am I always tired, or why am I always...
Yeah. What was your question? Question and comment?
Oh, it wasn't important.
No, but we won't stifle it. What is it?
It was just introspection of the asking about Arjuna, if he just happened to be real. In a way, it was kind of an example of how I just had contents in the glass that were unnecessary, because that question wasn't relative to even the conversation. It was just kind of a curiosity.
Yeah,
so I didn't even have to ask it.
But we'll be cautious about this, because we're encouraging you to ask questions. And sometimes the answer will come this way, but that's not saying shut up. That's just saying be present and listen, and you'll see. You'll see. Oftentimes the question will turn something back to ourselves. But that's important that process happens. We had in the Lord's Prayer, that Aramaic Lord's Prayer last night, we had the the concept of the individual personality dissolving in the absolute, and the absolute turning it back to us as a teaching. Right? Giving us this mirror so that we can ask the question as it were, and have the answer. And the answer will appear. It'll always come back to us. It'll always be something that's helping us to come within and see what's really here. So don't. Sometimes it'll come like that, but nobody's ever laughing at anyone. Nobody's ever saying, I don't know, etc. Because our situation is we're all in the process of waking up, So, and we have to go through the process. And so we're always encouraged to ask the questions. And we're encouraged for them to be real questions. And the question you asked is a real question. So authentic. And it seems like the answer suited it. Because you needed to ask, is Arjuna a historic figure in order to recognize that I'm Arjuna? Right? And how would you have known that without asking the question? You would have held on to this question because these questions occupy the mind. Every time the name Arjuna came up, you would have wondered, was he a real historical person or not? And now you ask the question, and now you're able to relate to it in a deeper sense, right? Yeah, so it's beautiful. No worries. No worries, no issue. Better to ask. Okay, so the answer comes. The beginning of the answer comes. And this will be a deep dive starting with this chapter. The Blessed Lord said, my highest nature is the imperishable Brahman that gives life to all beings and dwells in individuals as the Supreme Self, Adhyatman. My offering that causes all beings to come forth is karma. The perishable earthly realm, Adibhuta, is the physical body. We'll talk about this a little more right now. We're reading. The perishable earthly realm is the physical body, and Purusha is the realm of light and object of all worship. I alone am the essence of sacrifice, present in your very body, noble Arjuna. If you are thinking of me at the time of physical death, you will leave your body and come directly to me. There is no doubt about it. You go to whatever you are thinking of at the time of physical death, or Arjuna, because your mind established that direction. Therefore, think of me constantly and fight for what's right. If your heart and mind are given to me, then you will surely come directly to me. And so what he shared here, very deep, profound, and this will be explored. He answered the question. And it'll be explored further. And so if we have a similar question, this is something we wish to explore. But this concept of fight, and this came up in a satsang a few evenings ago. And it's exactly related to the question that you're asking and the idea that you shared that this is talking about some external battle. There's a beautiful commentary here that we'll share related to this. Because he ends this is a monologue. He is answering Arjuna's question, but it's a multi-part answer, right? And he goes in the same order Arjuna asked the question, starting with, what is Brahman? So he didn't forget the question, and he answered every part of the question, and he took a little bit more time on what happens after physical death, how do I come to you? And then he summarizes it. He says, therefore, think of me constantly and fight. And this is a concept you just brought as well, but it's this inner battle, you see. It's the inner battle. So that's the confusion. It's not about fighting something outside. And that's easy to fall into that concept. Beautiful commentary here from Swamiji. He says, Krishna has a clever way of doing things. Excuse me. Know that behind all the different reasoning, his aim is to make Arjuna face the situation, fight, and not run away. If you read the whole Gita, you keep coming across this hint, get up and fight. The underlying purpose is fight your war. We are all on the battlefield, constantly fighting to win the game. It's not just a one-time war. Don't think that if peace comes somewhere on the globe, there is peace in your heart. The war is continually going on. The body and mind are a constant battlefield. Now and then, he reminds us, don't give up, fight with proper understanding, then you can win the war. Here again, he says, always keep your heart and mind absorbed in me, then you will surely come to me. It's certain, he says, you will come to me. Don't forget what this means. Krishna is not a person. And at a outer sense, some would say he's person, supreme person. But here, Swamiji is taking us deeper. He's not speaking as a person. Remember, he's not speaking as a person.
What does person mean?
The mask, literally. It's from the Greek persone, which is the mask in the Greek play. If you've ever seen the way the Greeks gave plays in amphitheaters, the seating sloped down to a stage in the center. So no big screen TV and no sound system. So the sound system was taken care of in the layout of the amphitheater, but people could sit very far away. So the actors wore these very large masks. That's the person. It's the same for you. You're wearing.
So Gopala is my person.
Gopala is your mask.
Okay.
Gopala is your mask.
Well, I think
The name and the form.
and the mask are the same thing.
Correct. So I'm giving it back to you the same way.
Oh, okay.
Gopala is your mask. You walk around the world showing yourself as this mask, which is called Gopala.
But yet it's
You're
not
wearing
mine.
it.
But yet it's not mine.
You're
It's
wearing
not
it.
Mine.
You're wearing it.
Sporting it.
You're wearing it.
Yes.
When you speak and the lips of the mask move, people imagine that the mask is speaking.
Right.
Krishna is not a person, he is an experience. The experience of peace is an experience. The experience of peace and tranquility, that is God. It is peace that's telling you, remember the goal of perfect peace and fight your war, then you will ultimately be at peace. We can use all kinds of names, forms, and symbols, but we should remember that peace is our God. We can't find it without facing life with the proper understanding. Sri Krishna is saying, I can't fight your war for you. I can only guide you to fight. If Sri Krishna could do everything, he wouldn't be saying all these verses to Arjuna. If he simply wanted to win the war, and this is a notion, if he simply wanted to win the war, what do you suppose he could do?
Put everybody to sleep.
He's the one breathing through both sides in the battlefield.
Oh, yes.
What does he have to do? Stop breathing through these people. And what happens to those people?
Yeah.
There you go, night night.
Dust.
Oh,
Night.
So why is it so important to Lord Krishna for Arjuna to fight this war? So
It's emptying the bad or the unnecessary contents of his cup in a way. Is that the?
it does not matter to him whatsoever. That's the answer.
That's for justice.
And it does not matter to him one
Does it
iota.
matter to Krishna?
Nothing matters to Krishna except that Arjuna, what? Knows who he is.
Who is?
That's all that matters.
He's got to rescue his people.
That's the only way to rescue them.
That's the duty.
And all of these people are his people. That's all that matters.
And he told them at the beginning, right? You can choose me or my army. But
Yeah.
if you choose me, I will not fight.
Yeah, there you go. So he says, I can only guide you to fight. This is Swamiji continuing. If Sri Krishna could do everything, he wouldn't be saying all these verses to Arjuna. If he simply wanted to win the war, he could have ignored Arjuna totally and just snapped his finger and the war is over. Certainly he doesn't need an Arjuna to fight the war, but it's not his war, it's Arjuna's war. You see, that's where we each find ourselves. It's our war. We're in the midst of a battlefield and we're fighting our war. And Krishna can't fight Arjuna's war. Arjuna, each of us, we have free will. We have to fight our own war. He's just pointing, right? If you eat something wrong, get a stomachache, should I go to the doctor? This is Swamiji saying. If you eat something wrong and get a stomachache, should I go to the doctor? You catch what he's saying?
Should I? Right, the other.
Sometimes people think, that person is all-knowing and all-capable. If he will just say, I'm all right, instantly I'll be all right. It's like asking me to take the pill for you. We have to face our karma, our own actions, our own mistakes. If we made a mistake somewhere, sometime we have to pay the price for it. And it takes time. It can't happen overnight. If I had the capacity to change you overnight, I would do it. Sometimes I might have the ability, still I won't do it. Does this sound like a contradiction? But if I do it, it's me doing it, not you. What you did, you have to undo. I shouldn't undo it. If I undo it, you will learn the lesson you won't learn the lesson yourself, and you can't continue that way. You have to earn your food. It takes time and patience. Here, truth, faith works wonders, but don't put a time limit on your faith. Sometimes a student comes and says, Swamiji, I will have faith in you for 2 months. If nothing happens within these 2 months, I will look for somebody else. Is that faith? No, but this is. He quotes, I just have faith in you, that's all. You take your time. Even if I'm not cured, I still have faith in you. If that kind of faith is really there, then you are cured immediately. Otherwise, it's not faith, it's a business. But with unconditional faith, nothing is difficult. All the impediments go away when you have that. And that's what is meant when Sri Krishna says, with complete trust in me, get up and fight to achieve. You have to fight to experience the peace. Until then, wherever you go, the war will follow you. Your karma is like your shadow. You can't escape it. Many Hindus go to the Ganges. They have faith that the holy river, otherwise, faith in the holy river, otherwise they wouldn't spend so much money and travel thousands of miles. After traveling all the way to Benares, they dip in the Ganges to wash away all their past sins. After the dip, they should feel that all their sins are gone and that they're totally free. But when some people come out, they're still afraid of the same mistakes they made before. These people fear their past karma. He says, do you see? They commit terrible karma, then go there to bathe. After bathing, they come out, but still they don't have the confidence. This doesn't mean that the Ganges is just ordinary. The Ganges is holy. The minute they step into the Ganges, their karma stays on the bank. As long as they're in the Ganges, no karma. But the minute they come out, their karma comes back again, just because they don't have that complete faith. This is because the minds of such people still aren't clean. It's impossible to have good faith with an impure mind. Faith lives only in a totally clean mind. Otherwise, the seed is sown in a field where it won't grow. What's wrong with the field? Doubt. Doubt nullifies faith. Even a little doubt is enough to destroy faith. One must develop faith without room for doubt. Even a little doubt is enough to ruin you totally. We have one comment about that. Our aim is great. If we're really spiritual seekers, we shouldn't think that this is just a little fun game. We should take it as a very serious matter. Otherwise, will simply waste time and keep procrastinating. Therefore, at all times, remember me only and fight. So here's the thing about this faith and doubt. The faith that we're being guided to requires being tested. It has to be tested. It has to be developed. You can say, I have it, but then something happens and you lose yourself. So that means we don't have it. If you follow the doubt completely all of the time, then you'll never get there. But if you try to allay all of the doubt, you'll never get there. So...
If you try to what, sir?
Sorry?
If you try to
allay, try to ignore it,
ignore it.
you won't get there. Because it will remain, just like that question that you asked, it will remain there, bedeviling you. And still the question will come up, is that a real person, historical or not? And in other words, doubt speaks as a voice within, and it has to be dealt with. It has to be dealt with. So in this way, it can be a teacher for you. If you follow it, if you let it run your life, then you won't get where you want to go. If you ignore it, it will remain. It will arise at all of the inconvenient times, right? And it will remain. So there's one thing to do about it. Only one thing that makes sense, only one thing that can be done, which is to use that doubt to help you to inquire, but then really ask these questions, settle them, come to know the answers, Work it out. You have to work it out yourself, right? If you don't work it out, then you're stuck in this place. That's what's being discussed. That's this battle. That's this inner battle. It has to be solved. The riddle has to be solved. The puzzle has to be put together. And we have to put it together. And then we can say to Lord Krishna, aha, I get it. You are the Lord, I am the servant. I am thine, all is thine. And now it's a statement of faith. And we have the ability to live according to it. But just saying it, you see, it might be an aid to say it, but it won't do it in and of itself. We have to work it out, which means we need to be active sadhakas. Right? We need to really be present to ask these questions that are arising, to allow ourselves to be present for the answers that come, to really encourage them. Not believe them idly, test them, see if it's true. Use your own experience, right? Have new experiences. Try them out, test them. And then when you see, then you know something. You know that which is not known through the senses, not even known by the mind itself. Okay, we should close. And short final prayer, because we're going to need to go. And then I'm going to step out along with Parvati Devi, and we're going straight to the airport. So you'll close the arati yourselves. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukhaneva Bandhanam Mritor Mokshiyamam Mritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukhaneva Bandhanam Mritor Mokshiyamam Mritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukhaneva Bandhanam Mritor Mokshiyamam Mritat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and faith, let us abide in thee forever and ever. On below Sakura Shivananda Maharaj Ki, and for all the saints and sages of all the traditions.